Oh, hey, Facebook. Good morning. How are you? Nice to see you. Welcome to the weekend. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. It's funny. Last week I said good morning in much the same way I just did. Uh, hopped on the site a couple hours later, and hey, dozens of people told me it's not morning here, Mike. It's not morning, and I'm not sure. I wasn't sure what to say. I don't think I offended them necessarily, but what do? You say good morning if it's morning. But then I thought, why not say good morning? What if morning really is a state of mind and not merely a time of day? Huh. Morning in America, right? Reagan, I believe. He said some interesting things. What if it's morning all the time? Free associating is going rather well this morning, don't you think? You are hearing my very first words of the day. This is the way I heard it. This is the story I'm about to read for you. It's called The Coward of the Deep, but not until you join me for a much needed brief and early morning crap. Collectibles rare and precious. The fundraiser wherein we replenish the empty coffers here at Mike Rowe Works by offering various and sundry items for sale. Today, I'd like to offer for your consideration my personal neck knife. This is an amazing tool. This was sent to me by a guy named Patrick Rorman, who makes knives. Patrick makes extraordinary knives, and I just autographed it because I'm going to auction it off, and I'm under the illusion that my name on a thing might somehow enhance its value. This is made from moon rock, the material in the inside of an asteroid, and sharpened with a futuristic laser. That's not true. This is simply made from the very best tempered steel I would imagine there is, or carbon steel. It's just so damn sharp. I don't know how to overstate it. It's a scalpel. A surgeon could actually ply his trade with this knife. I think it fits perfectly into any hand. Your forefinger goes in this little notch here, gives you maximum control. It's a production knife, and I don't want to spend a lot of time telling you why it's the best daggone knife in the world, but I do want to spend a second and just tell you that this guy who made it, Patrick, this is his website over here. His name's Patrick Rorman. I just want to show him to you real quick because there's just very, very few craftsmen left who care this much. I mean, the guy lives knives, and his knives sell for literally thousands of dollars. Like, he does these custom-made knives. He sent me one a couple years ago. I'll show it to you just as an example of the top end. This kind of thing. I mean, and you can literally watch him make it online. It's really interesting if you're into knives. Make sure you check that out. And Patrick, just one more look at the guy. I mean, he's a character. When I got that knife in the mail, I was really touched, along with this one, and I called him to thank him at home in the Ozarks somewhere in Missouri, where he makes the knives, and he answered the phone in his garage, and there was this commotion in the background, and things sounded chaotic, and I said, Patrick, have I got you at a bad time? He said, no, it's okay. It's just a little. Honestly, it's pandemonium. And I said, well, what's going on? He said, well, my wife's in the other room having a baby. I said, she's having a baby? He said, yeah. She's in the living room. I mean, it's all going fine. It's our ninth. Or maybe it was eighth. Forgive me if I got it wrong. The eighth or ninth. If it was eight, I'm sure it's nine by now. Because Patrick and his wife stay busy. Anyway, so he's having a baby. He's listening to me thank him for sending me this knife and the other, and pausing in between labor pains, I suppose, to make another knife. I mean, the guy is dedicated to making knives, mtknives.net. This will be offered over on eBay the second I finish this story, along with one of our talking bobbleheads. I'm going to sit over here and think about all the bad decisions I've made in life. And an autographed Freddie and the Biped campaign T-shirt, a doghouse divided against itself. Cannot stand. Those three items available to you in mere moments. The money goes to the Mike Rowe Works Foundation. Having said all that, you ready? Get you out of the shot. And this. There we go. It's called The Coward of the Deep. Here it is. Victor Sinise was the kind of man people wrote songs about. A sailor in the French Navy, he'd risen through the ranks, distinguishing himself in countless battles and winning praise and admiration from his countrymen. Now, the legendary admiral stood in the wheelhouse of his mighty warship and looked out upon the Adriatic. The hour was late. The sea, a mill pond, turned silver in the glow of a waxing moon. He didn't see the periscope poking above the surface, nor did he see the torpedo racing toward his ship. In one terrible blast, both engines were gone, and the admiral's ship was dead in the water. As the sea rushed in, the bow slowly rose. Victor grabbed the useless helm as 684 terrified men looked for a way out. Some leapt over the rails into the frigid water. Others tried to launch lifeboats from the rising bow. The officers begged their admiral to attempt an escape. For the good of France, they pleaded. But Victor refused. If his ship was going down, he'd go down with it. 500 meters away, the U-boat commander watched the nightmare unfold in his periscope and wondered if anyone would ever write a song about him. Not likely. Where was the honor in this kind of victory? Where was the glory? As the doomed ship slipped below the surface, the German commander sighed and turned to his first officer. "I'd rather be fighting in a trench," he said. "There, at least, you can hear the wounded groan. There, a man can fill with rage. But down here, we drown masses of men, like the cold-blooded cowards we are." Masses of men was a fair characterization. Under his command, 13 Allied boats were sent to the bottom of the sea, along with thousands of sailors who never saw the face of the man who sealed their fate. But cowardice? That's a matter of perspective. In the First World War, there was no place on earth more hazardous or harrowing than the pressure hull of an experimental U-boat. Of the 375 to leave German ports, 202 would not return. There was no reliable sonar. The batteries generated toxic gas. They had to resurface for air every 2 hours, which left them utterly defenseless. Underwater, the crew was blind, choking on air thick with diesel, and forever on the brink of some catastrophic mechanical failure. In short, they were death traps, and the men who commanded them knew it. But this commander not only kept his crew alive, he kept his enemies on the run. Eventually, he would receive Austria's highest military honor and the abiding respect of his countrymen. In fact, the self-described coward of the deep became widely known as the dread of the Adriatic. In time, this conflicted commander wound up inspiring a few songs after all, but surprisingly, not for his exploits in battle. When the Germans lost the war, Austria was annexed and the Navy disbanded. So the dread of the Adriatic resumed his life as a civilian. His first wife gave him 7 children, but died of scarlet fever. His second wife would give him 3 more. With every passing year, his prominence grew, along with his reputation as a bona fide war hero. But then the world geared up for the Second World War, and his new commander-in-chief beckoned him back to service. The dread of the Adriatic did something way out of character. He refused. Then he fled the country. At the time, many Germans called it an unthinkable display of cowardice and disloyalty. Others called it what it was, treason. But when 2 American composers heard about Georg's insubordination, they took a closer look at his personal life. And before long, Broadway had a new musical, and Hollywood was handing out 5 Academy Awards. Sure, they took some liberties with the facts. They always do. But they got the important parts right. Georg Ritter was a patriot and a soldier. He loved his profession, his country, and his family. And yes, he also loved the nanny who raised his children and burst into song while skipping through alpine meadows. You might say that those were a few of his favorite things. But in the midst of singing nuns and precocious kids and all that other do-re-mi, the magnitude of Georg's defiance, that's easy to forget. And if Oscar and Hammerstein could have added just one more song to their timeless musical, I'd vote for a haunting ballad called The Coward of the Deep, wherein our conflicted commander ruminates on the pitfalls of patriotism, the barriers of bravery, the limits of loyalty. Because really, long before anyone heard the sound of music, Georg Ritter, he was singing the sound of sedition. In Nazi Germany, that was a very dangerous tune, and it cost Georg quite a bit. His title, his position, his reputation, and all of his material possessions. But it was better than the alternative, because fighting for Adolf Hitler, that just felt cowardly. And Georg Ritter von Trapp was no coward. Anyway, that's the way I heard it. That originally dropped 7 weeks ago over on micro.com/podcast. That's what they call it when podcasts premiere. They drop. Well, it just dropped again right here. Hope you liked it. To review, mtknives.net. This is for sale right now over on eBay. The link is in the, You scroll up and you'll see it. You get that. You get the Somebody's Got to Do It bobblehead with Freddie.
My name is Mike Rowe, and this is my bobblehead.
Yeah, it's a talking bobblehead, so we're clear.
I don't see what could possibly go wrong. I'm here to slow you down and cost you money.
If you like one of these, but you don't win the bid, you can go to bobbleheads.com and get it. And if you want one of these shirts, which is also included in today's crap, you can go to represent.com and get one of those too. A doghouse divided against itself cannot stand. That's me and Freddie, and if you look closely, you'll see that, yeah, I signed it too. If you look very closely, you might say to yourself, who the hell is that? It's supposed to be me. But I confess, it is not the most perfect representation. All right, that's it. I threw a lot at you right there, and I talked for 12 minutes and 30 seconds. Have a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great dusk, a fine evening, and a lovely gloaming. Look up gloaming. It's a good one.